God bless you all and all of you on the good earth. Welcome to one of our vlogs from St. Mark's Episcopal in Dalton, Georgia, and welcome those on Facebook and YouTube joining us today. I am not in Dalton. I'm visiting family, and I'm on my way there in a small town called Simpsonville, South Carolina, in front of the Holy Innocents Episcopal Church, which is a very large church. They have an academy attached to it, and a very beautiful church. You can see part of that behind me. This is the day before Christmas Eve, so sort of a strange day to be doing this, but I want to put this out. A strange Christmas Eve, a lot of reflection on that. It's one of the few holidays that it's the big celebration the day before the holiday. The holiday is obviously Christmas Day, the Feast of the Nativity, and that's a big celebration for Christianity. But it seems that over the years, Christmas Eve has become even a bigger day. More people seem to go to church on Christmas Eve, and that's tradition that goes back to the 300s when people started going to church. What was at the time evolved into a midnight mass, and that's replicated all over the world. And at St. Mark's, I think, except for almost equal to Easter, the most beautiful service of the year with all the music and the pageantry and a good sermon and just people getting together. Is the Christmas Eve service, and they have a couple of them during the day. I'm sure most Episcopal churches and churches have got that also. So this is the day before Christmas Eve. Now I'll share a couple of stories about Christmas Eve for this week's video, and one of them goes back to 1914 when World War I was going on, and World War I was very brutal, very tragic, very violent, and the war had been going on for about 5 months when Christmas Eve came up. They tried to negotiate a truce for Christmas and Christmas Eve, and it didn't come about, and the officials and the upper officials of the military were against it. But in the trenches between the Germans and the English soldiers at that time, peace broke out, ironically. What happened is that right before midnight, the English soldiers heard the German soldiers singing Silent Night in German. And they responded by singing some Christmas carols in English. And both sides kept singing back and forth and applauding for the other. Eventually, they started lighting some candles and realized that nobody was going to shoot. So 2 officers went out and saluted each other and shook hands. Then others came out of the trenches, and it happened in several spots. And this sort of a strange story of what we know, but they ended up exchanging gifts, exchanging food, making Christmas ornaments or whatever. They even passed around a makeshift soccer ball during the time. But more important, they collected the dead that were in between the trenches at the time. And it was very amazing story of what happened. And of course, a couple of days later, the war began. In 1915, there was a small recreation of that, but after that, it never happened again. The other story is something within my lifetime. This goes back to December 24th of 1968, when Apollo 8 was heading towards the moon. Not to land on the moon, but this was the last flight before that, when they were going to circle the moon. It was the first time humans had gone outside the gravitational pull of the Earth, the first time on that. It happened to be Christmas Eve. And the 3 people on there, Frank Borman, who was the commander of the spacecraft, but Bill Anders and Jim Lovell, the others, and they televised a broadcast what they were doing back to Earth. And it was the largest viewership of something on TV up to that time. So I can remember watching on Christmas Eve, and suddenly as they were going around, this was a flight where they got a shot of what's called the EARTHRISE, a picture of the Earth from far away. That's a story in itself. But they started reading, surprisingly, and people on earth were not expecting this, from the first 10 verses of the book of Genesis, of the creation story, where God creates day and night, and then earth and heaven, and then the earth and the seas. And he says that God, saw that it was good, that. And finally, Frank Borman, the commander, he says, "We close with good night, good luck, and Merry Christmas. And God bless you all of you on the good earth." I think to this day, I'm not sure if I remember a more holy moment from that Christmas Eve of 1968. So to all of you, we bless you a Merry Christmas, and have a happy, not just Christmas Eve, but a happy and holy Christmas this year. Thanks be to God.